Hello YouTube, and welcome to this comparison of telezoom lenses for Sony E-mount. We have the Sony E55 to 210mm, which you can buy as a kit lens with many Sony cameras. It's cheap, small and light, and it is capable of taking some nice pictures. However, it is not the greatest lens optically, and with an aperture of only f6.3 at the long end, it will require good light if you want to avoid high ISOs. If you want to step up from the kit telezoom, then the next option for E-mount is the much bigger FE70-200G. And spoiler alert, for those expecting the underdog to come out on top, I can disappoint you right away. The FE lens is a big step up in every way. It is made for full frame, but will work just as well for crop sensors. If we check some of the extra features of the FE lens, it has several physical switches on the lens. These switches control focus and steady shot behavior. It also has a conveniently positioned custom button, which on US Sony cameras like the A6300 can assign to almost any function. I have mine set up to high autofocus. As you can see, it's a much bigger lens, mostly because it's a constant f4 aperture lens, which lets in a much more light. The length gets more similar when you zoom the E-lens, as it extends when zooming, while the FE lens has internal zoom and stays the same length. And if we compare the weight, we see that the E-lens comes out at under 400 grams, even including the lens hood, it's under a pound. The FE, just the lens itself, is over twice that much. And when adding the hood and tripod collar, it adds up to over a kilo. For the Americans, that's more than 2 pounds. But luckily, it compensates by making your wallet lighter, as it costs 5 times as much as the E-lens. The extra size and weight of the FE lens makes it much less convenient to bring in a camera bag than the smaller E, which you can easily bring almost anywhere. A decent lens you bring with you will always be better than a great lens left at home, because you can't be bothered to drag it along all day. E-lens can bring you some good pictures, particularly if you shoot in bright light and stop it down to f8. Then it can show good detail, especially at the shorter end of the zoom range. But if you accept the higher price, size and weight, do step up to the FE lens. What does it provide? It will show great detail and sharpness under almost all circumstances. Here it is at the 70mm end, and there's a lot of detail all across the frame. And here it is at 190mm, and once again showing a lot of detail and sharpness all across the frame. We can now do a little more systematic comparison of sharpness at various focal lengths and apertures. Starting off with some 100% crops at the 70mm end, and both lenses wide open, the E lens to the left and the FE to the right. And here the difference isn't big at all, they're quite similar. If you're checking an actual photo, you can see pretty much the same. Not much difference in sharpness. Here they are both at f8 and they're quite equal here. Next we are checking the corners, and here there is a difference. The FE is quite a bit sharper. Stopping the E down to f8, it gets closer, but it's still not as sharp as the FE. And if we stop the FE down to f8, it gets a lot sharper. A comparison from an actual picture in the corners. Once again, you can see a big difference here. The FE is a lot sharper. Next, we zoom into 135mm. They are both wide open. For the E, that is 5.6 at this focal range. And this is the center. And the FE is a little sharper, but not a huge difference. Stop the E down to f8, it gets quite similar to the FE at f4. If you stop the FE down to f8, it gets sharper again. Here is from an actual picture at f8, and you can see the FE is quite a bit sharper here. If you check in the corner, wide open again, and the FE lens is a lot sharper here. Dropping down the E lens to f8 gets a little better, but still not quite as sharp at FE. If you stop the FE down to f5.6, not much difference actually. f8 it gets a little bit sharper, but it's good already at f4 and only gets a little bit better at f8. Actual picture again, from the edge, FE, you can see it's clearly sharper here. Then at the 200mm end, this is in the center again, and for the E lens that's f6.3, and the FE is still sharper at f4. Stopping the E lens down to f8 improves the situation a little bit. If you stop the FE lens to f5.6, it's quite a bit sharper, and at f8 even more sharp. There's an actual picture of the moon, and you can see there's a lot more detail in the FE picture than in the E lens. A great tip: if the moon is too dark, remember to turn on your flash. And for last, let's check the corners. Wide open again at 200mm, and you can clearly see the difference here. Drop the E lens down to f8, it gets a little better. Drop the FE down to f5.6, and then f8, it gets a little bit sharper for each, but it's quite sharp already at f4. So, can we draw any conclusions from this? The E lens can certainly take good pictures, but I think it's quite clear that the FE lens is a big step up if you can overcome the extra cost, size and weight. Then there is also the 70-200G master lens, which is another big step up if you want to take it all the way. But that will have to become an issue for some other time. So, I hope this comparison was helpful if you're considering what telezoom is right for you. If you have any questions or comments, as always, you can put them below. See ya!